Most of us expect to find history among ruins, not along such staggering beauty as the Rio Coa. Yet amidst this splendor are phantom voices, gone unheard for thousands of years. This national monument is the only known instance where rock art of many different prehistoric and historic time periods reside in the same place. Today, it is the largest collection of outdoor Paleolithic figures known in the world. It took a worldwide outcry demanding knowledge before profits to give new life to lost artistic expression.
All the story begins with the intention to build a dam in order to obtain some electricity support to Portugal. In 91, first time, was discovered some engravings, Paleolithic engravings. So we have substituted the dam and electricity program with another program, a cultural program. In 1996, we built a park.
Trained guides take visitors in park vehicles from the centers to the rock art sites. Access to the engravings at these sites is not easy. Much of the surrounding terrain is rugged and only accessible by foot. At present, the only rock sites open to the public are at Penascosa, Ribeira de Piscos, and Canada do Inferno.
In the Coa Valley, since we are at an open-air rock art site, and we have representations from 28,000 to 10,000 years ago, we don't have a lot of painting. We have only one site in fire, a sheltered site where we have some remains of red painting. The most important technique of representation in the Coa Valley is the engraving, and we can distinguish four different techniques of engraving. The most important one and the less visible one is the fine line incision, where artists draw the lines with a small stone, flint or quartz to draw the animal, and simply like that, sometimes with multiple lines filling the body. Then we have the technique of packing, probably the second most important technique, where the artists used hammers, rock hammers, to pack the lines of the animals. And then we have another technique, the abrasion, where the artists would use another stone in making a movement backwards and forward to regularize the line that was previously packed. The fourth and most rare technique of engraving is the scraping, where the artists used a rock to scrape all the surface of the animal, creating a contrast in color between the animal and the color of the rock. Sometimes the techniques like fine line incision, packing and abrasion were used in sequence. Firstly, the artist would draw a sketch with the technique of fine line incision, then we would pack the line to make it larger, and then we would make it regular by abrasion. And we very often see this sequence in techniques.
The mouth of the Ribeira de Piscos marks the transition between the gentle slope through which the Coa flows downstream of Quinta da Barca and the deep canyon it follows to the confluence with the Douro.
These are two horses. We see one complete over here and the other one up here, and they are in one scene. It is a pre-mating scene, and they have the heads one over the others like this because they are caressing each other. We have the mane over here and the dorsal line of one of them. This is the tail, the back leg over here, belly, front leg, the chest, the inferior jaw over here, the front, and goes again up to the mane. And this is the rest of the body of the second one. It is the dorsal line going until the mane, the front, and the inferior jaw. This second one, it might have been complete in the back, but not in front. And you see the complete heads. Very, very easy to see over here. Well, and over here we have the man of Piscos. Over here you see what it might be one open mouth with big volume on the lips. We have the nose of the man. This is the head, the neck, just the position of the arms because he might be like this. The back over here we lose it, and afterwards we have one of the legs, the second volume, and this, it is the sex, erect in natural size, and over here you see the detail that he is ejaculating. Afterwards we have the few details in the head. We have the complete eye, the ear, and this line, it makes the cut that we make in our face.
The Coa Valley region contains the longest known rock art cycle in Western Europe.
Well, over here we have one auroch almost in natural size, and because in those days, in the Upper Paleolithic, he could get between hoofs and horns or head 2.5 meters. This over here, it is the inferior jaw from it, the front of the head, the horn one, and the second one over here, the dorsal line, the tail over here. This line, it represents the back leg over here. The belly, we lose it a little bit until here. We found it again. The front leg, the chest, and goes up again to the head. And over here, you can see the detail of having one true nose over here.
Penascosa is located a little more than 1 kilometer upriver from Ribeira de Piscos, but on the opposite riverbank. Here the valley opens up, and there's an extensive beach whose sands may cover more engraved rocks than those already known.
Well, over here we have again another auroch. We have here the head, the front of the head, here the horns, very well done ones, the dorsal line, the tail over here, the back and the back leg, the belly, front leg, chest, and goes up again to the same head. To the other side of the rock, we have a bigger one. We have the inferior jaw over here, the front of the head, and we have the details of having the two true noses, the front again, the dorsal line over here, one enormous big tail, the back leg over here, the belly, the front leg, the chest, and goes up again until the same head. Well, over here we are going to see the rest of the scene that we have started to see at Piscos. Over here it is the mating scene between, again, the female and the male. The detail that we have over here is that the stallion, it has 3 positions of the head. It means that the man knew already how to produce movement. Well, over here we have one goat, and this one, it has a lot of details, like the beginning of one horn, the second one, it is complete. The dorsal line until here, and she has a very funny tail made in 3 lines open. The back over here, back leg, belly, the front leg, chest, and the head. But inside the head we have the detail of having mouth, eye, and here represented. Over here we have one fish, almost the complete part of the body. We have everything here, the rest of the body, until the beginning of the tail, and we have the detail of having the difference and the mark between the head and the body, and this small dot over here, it is the representation of the eye. Over here we have the dorsal line from one deer, and over here we have the beginning of the first antler with all the things that they have in the antlers, and the second one it goes up with the different lines also, like this.
It takes an expert eye to recognize the significance of this rare form of artwork. A team of archaeologists and curators study and preserve the Coa Valley rock art. These experts work diligently to put the historic finds in proper archaeological context.
The second most important period in the rock art of the Coa Valley is the Iron Age rock art, which is very different from the Paleolithic rock art. The most important motifs are warriors and horses and horsemen. Some dogs also. So we can see that the society that produced this kind of rock art was completely different from the Paleolithic one. It's a society more complex. We imagine that some of these scenes are mythological scenes because of some of the features, and so most of these images portray warriors in action.
Some of the engravings show an early attempt to create a sense of motion in the artwork.
This rock that we are looking at is a very interesting rock, which is composed by a scene with 3 goats, and one of the goats, this one that we can see, it's a male, and the most interesting feature that it has, it is the fact that it has 2 heads, and this was a way to portray movement. Like in comic books nowadays and animation movies, Paleolithic rock artists represented 2 heads to portray the movement of the head of the male goat, which is looking backwards and forwards.
Ancient voices, whose echoes faded long ago, re-emerge as etchings in the Coa Valley, leaving modern man to translate their meaning.
One of the questions that trouble us today is the reason why the Upper Paleolithic men and women did rock art like this. This is a kind of a language that the last person who spoke it has long gone. And so we have now different theories to understand it. There are people that defend that this is a kind of totems. People represented there and the animals that were their totems. There are other people that are saying, well, this is only art for art's sake. They did this to please themselves. There are other and different theories. One modern theory is that this was related to shamanism, and the animals represented the visions that the shamans had. There are others that we can identify here. For instance, some people say that these animals were marking territories. We have some examples where the animals are placed very high and very big, and that they could have been seen from a distance. And so marking territories is one of the hypotheses. What we know for sure is that they represented the animals that they hunted. They represented horses, wild horses like these ones. They represented wild oxen, goats and deer, and these were the animals that they came and hunted. And this river, the Core River, was very, very important during those times because the snow that would have been during winter in the hilltops around the river would melt during spring, and the river would flood. And when the flood came, the animals, the herds of wild animals came, and men and women came after them to hunt them. And it was while they were waiting for them to hunt them, they draw it. We don't know for sure why they draw them, but we know that it is related. Hunting and rock art, these are two things that are related.
The rock etchings tell little of how life was, but certainly are a living record that life did exist here.
This is a very interesting site where we have found very large and numerous fireplaces. These fireplaces were made mostly from local and foreign rock, using granite slabs in the outer surface of the area of the fireplace, and inside with pebbles, quartzite pebbles. We can date technologically these findings. By the way, the artifacts were made, but also we can date directly some of the objects. In here we cannot use radiocarbon dating because in here we don't have bones, we don't have wood to use radiocarbon dating, so we must use thermoluminescence, TL dating, which dates burnt rock and dates the last time that the rock was hidden. And so that's the way we can date these sites like Olga 4 and its fireplaces. The dates come from 28,000 years before Christ, but then we have occupation that continued during the Seleucian and up to the Magdalenian 10,000 years ago. We have here two similar rocks, two quartzite pebbles. The difference is that this one has been burnt, this one hasn't. So the difference we can notice because the difference in color is very clear.
In this settlement, which name is Olga Grand, we find a lot of tools, but very little tools, teeny tools. But associated with this kind of tools, very little one, we find this. We can't say it's a fireplace. We don't know exactly if it is what to do, but when it's a fireplace, I think it's obvious because geologically this kind of quartz is not local. It's coming from 100 meters, and we dated with a TL process 5 pieces of quartz of this area, and all the datation gave between 27 and 25,000 years. It means people used this fireplace during Gravettian period. This is the older period of engraving of the Coa Valley, which is represents here in this area. This is not the older, because they know older level, but it's one of the older level of this sediment. Like in this kind of sediment, only stones are conserved. There's no organic matter, wood, charcoal. This kind of organic matter is not conserved. Only the stone of this fireplace. From what we see on all the material we find, because we didn't, all the little material is not here. Tool, flint, piece of flint we find during excavation of this material. We can see and we can say that people at this place, there's during Gravettian, it means between 27, mais ou menos, more or less 25,000 years, live here, spend the time here to cook, maybe to cook some meat, and to live here, and they spend this kind of these stones. All the wood material is not conserved, all the charcoal is not conserved, but they spend some time here in this area. And it's very important for us to know where people were living and what they did here in this area.
Those who left behind the rock art must have known love, joy, and peace along the Rio Coa. It is an elusive story. Only traces and hints, small pieces of a larger puzzle, offer clues to the past, unraveling a compelling story of human evolution.
As novas descobertas que fizemos em dezembro do último ano.
The new discoveries done in December of 1999 brought new archaeological data. This data manifests the following. For the first time, we discovered geological layers, which have vestiges from the Paleolithic in contact with a carved rock.
Do Paleolítico Superior em contacto com uma rocha gravada. Quer dizer que podemos agora, temos os argumentos todos para datar, para ter uma idade mínima da rocha.
We have now all the arguments that will allow us to date and define the age of the carvings that are covered with vestiges from the Paleolithic.
Foi o primeiro ponto importante.
This is a very important aspect.
De uma das camadas que estavam em contato.
In one of the layers that lay in contact with the carved rock, we discovered a small stone that could be carried. The prehistoric men carved this rock. The design in this rock can be compared with similar motifs carved along the riverside.
Estes motivos são comparáveis com motivos que foram já encontrados em rochas, em painéis gravados.
Those who